Good afternoon, everyone. Mitchell Ray does send his regrets, car troubles on the full moon, and he has approved what I'm going to share with you. And I'm so grateful to have Pequot Councilor Latasha Maddox and her family with us today. So we're very grateful for that. So my name is Izzy Tappan-deFrees, and I started studying. I started studying the history of First Parish, Watertown in 2020 during the pandemic. And when the settlers first arrived in Watertown in 1630, the church was basically the civic headquarters of the community. One of the early leaders here was a surly, kind of greedy sea trader named John Oldham. His name is listed on the replica covenant plaque that we have in this hallway to my left. John Oldham was also likely the old planter from Nantasket who rescued Roger Clapp and his Dorchester men and sailed them upriver here to Watertown in an infamous encounter with 200 warriors. And you will hear much more about that in the Listen to Sipu play that follows. And he was in Nantasket because he'd been kicked out of Plymouth Plantation essentially for demanding that non-Puritans should have a voice in all courts and elections. And Oldham found like-minded people among the settlers of Watertown. He was elected to be their first representative in the general court, and it is his opinion that is etched on that big plaque in the back wall, against the back wall, one that says, "We were the first church to protest against religious proscription." Do you see the tie to those two events? Oldham prospered in Watertown, and his trading voyages brought food, corn, Indian corn, native corn, for hungry colonists because they struggled for food in those first few years. He led expeditions into Connecticut, where he acquired much land and made trades. He was living the American dream, one might say. But in July of 1636, John Oldham was killed when his ship was attacked by Narragansett off the coast of Block Island. And that's complicated reasons for that, but Watertown sent our militia to Connecticut to retaliate. And the end result of that has been what known as what is the Pequot War. So even though the Pequot had not attacked Oldham, it is likely that his death and the food supply that they represented became impetus to attack the Pequot and their well-supplied cornfields. And almost every battle in that war takes place around cornfields, if you research it. But the primary atrocity of the Mass Bay colonists, the ancestors of this church and neighboring communities, was an attack on a very large Pequot village in Mystic, Connecticut that killed over 600 men, women, and children. That is more than what is officially considered the largest massacre in U.S. history. This predates U.S. history, I guess, but it's a direct link back to here. And it also began the practice of Pequot enslavement by the colonists as they intentionally worked to eliminate the Pequot tribe from existence. Colonists had Pequot slaves, and they were sent off to Bermuda, etc., on trading ships. The Pequot War ended in 1638. And in 1683, you can do the math, a small group of surviving Pequots were officially granted protected lands in North Stonington, Connecticut. That happens to be the town I was born in. And they have remained on that land all this time. This is the land of the Eastern Pequot tribal nation, which is separate from the Mashantucket Pequot who own the Foxwood Casino. In 2002, the Eastern Pequot were granted federal recognition status, but it was revoked in 2005 following a lawsuit by none other than Donald Trump. The loss of this long-sought federal recognition broke the spirits of a generation of Eastern Pequot leaders. Mitchell Ray, the newest chairman of the Eastern Pequot, represents a new generation willing to pick up the fight again for federal recognition. Mitchell understands the importance of federal recognition from a personal level because as a child he was adopted from a state foster care system that had no requirements to maintain tribal communities and connections. And he only learned about his family connections to the tribe as an adult. Today, the Eastern Pequot tribal nation is courageously continuing to fight for federal recognition. And I hope that this introduction has piqued your interest, that you will seek out information on them in the future, and that you will do what you can to help them succeed in their struggle. Thank you, and bless you for being with us.